The next question we're actually receiving quite a bit, and it's simply, how is COVID-19 affecting us? And just like every other industry, we got destroyed. And we're still getting a pretty big beating right now, but starting, I think it was the second week in March, we were completely shut down. All of our restaurants were shut down. Obviously, there was no more dine-in here in Atlanta, Georgia. So we had pretty much no more valet parking. Even the high rises, they didn't want to deal with us because they don't want us bringing something in unless we're fully contained in that building and we're not leaving that building at all. But if we're going home every night, they didn't want us in there. So a lot of those accounts stopped too, and people had to park themselves within their own communities. They really shouldn't have been going out. But pretty much for 3 months, we were completely shut down, and it was hard. It was hard. To be honest, I felt kind of, I let my valets down because I was no longer able to employ them, and a lot of them got furloughed and unemployment. So it hurt because I've always prided myself on being able to give these guys a job, but that was something that hurt us a lot. Now, on the flip side, I did have a lot of time to myself, so we were able to do the office over. We repainted a lot of things. We were at Home Depot with the masks on, of course, but back and forth, and we did a lot of different work in the office. So when the new valets come back into the office, they'll see a big change. Another question, what happens when a customer purposely parks in a valet parking section? And this is a good question. Valets get pissed. I cannot explain this enough. If you will override and supersede what a valet says, they will get very upset with you, and they will do tactical things to upset you or to mess with your life. Now, how do I do that? There's different ways of doing it. They can tow your car. I really advise not to tow people's cars because you'll really set someone up wrong. They'll really get pissed off. Number two, they'll boot your car. And what booting is a wheel immobilizer. So they'll put this little clamp on your wheel so you cannot move anymore. Number three, you can put a sticker on a car. Just put it on the, not windshield, because you can obstruct their view, but you can put it on the driver's window to let them know they're in a illegally parked lot. And that usually pisses them off because they got to peel that off. And those stickers don't come off easy. And then number four, which is usually the best thing to do, the valets park cars extremely close to the other customer, and to the point where they can't get in their car on the driver's side, so they're going to have to crawl through the passenger side to try to get into their car. And if they get upset with that, they shouldn't be in the valet lot. But those are typically one of the four things that valets will do to pretty much go against customers that try to park in their lot illegally. Now here's another one. What happens to the cars after closing? And that's a very good question. Typically, we have an arrangement with all the restaurants or accounts that we work at that if we are at the end of the night, your restaurant's closing, and we still have 1 or 2 cars left over, but there's nobody in your restaurant, chances are they went to another restaurant or a club in the surrounding area. And we try to tell people specifically, please do not leave this parking lot. We are only here until, midnight. So if they leave and they come back in the middle of the night, we're not going to be there, and they're going to be pissed. So typically, our liability is released at the point where the restaurant closed. We cannot be responsible for your vehicle after the restaurant is closed because we've done our job. We've valet parked your car, we're about to retrieve it, but you're no longer here. So at midnight when the restaurant shuts down, we shut down. Our liability is released. What we do with the keys, we typically give them to the manager of the restaurant, and he puts them in a safe, and that's how they have to pretty much come back the next day and get it. And that can be really inconvenient because if they come at 2 in the morning and their house keys are attached to it, they can't get in their house, they get upset with us, and we get crazy phone calls. So next is going to be one of the phone calls that I received from a very drunk customer at probably 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you guys didn't tell me that if I left my car, if I valeted my car with you, that after closing, I would not be able to get access to my keys. That is bullshit, because right now, I don't know, what time is it? What time is it now? 2:45 in the morning, and I can't get to my car. Not only that, I can't get into my apartment. So you need to communicate that better.
Now the next question is this, and we get this one a lot. Do valets really steal out of the cars? And for the most part, I will say no, they don't. Valets are not in your cars long enough to search around and look for things to do. Now, I will tell you this. I have seen valets that are guilty of stealing a stick of gum, stealing a writing pen like a ballpoint pen because their pen stopped, but that's as far as it goes. If they look down and they see a pen and they just grab it or something like that, or they'll write with it and then put it back. But that's, for the most part, I really don't see valets ever taking anything out of cars, and we really don't get accused of it that much. So, and usually if they do, what we do, and here's another protocol that we have. If you come into the restaurant, what we do, if we see anything in plain sight that a criminal might get, we'll slide it under the seat, we'll put it in a trunk, and we'll mark it on your ticket, purse and trunk. So people know that we didn't steal their purse, we're just moving it to the trunk because we're trying to prevent someone from breaking into your car. Or we'll ask them, if we visually see it beforehand, say, hey ma'am, do you want to move your purse to your trunk, or your gifts to the trunk, or anything into the trunk? We don't want to be responsible for that. And the bottom line is, criminals will not break into a car if they don't see anything to steal. So that's the bottom line, and we try to help customers out as much as possible. So that's one of the best pieces of advice you'll receive when you're dealing with valet parking. Now here's the final question, and this was actually a really good answer. What is the craziest thing that we've ever seen happen in the parking lot? And outside of course, the plane getting hit, which we'll discuss in a later episode, which a lot of people already know about, I was working one day and a customer came in a BMW 5 Series. He went inside the restaurant, and it was a pretty big restaurant, and probably about 10 minutes later, a tow truck pulled into the parking lot. And what do you think was happening? Yes, this BMW was about to get repossessed. But luckily, at that point, I had kind of blocked the car in because I put another car in front of it, but the guy had papers for repossessions. So I told him I couldn't let the car go that quickly, but he said he has been searching for this guy forever, and he usually leaves the car locked in his garage, and he had no ability to get the car out. So he was following him, and he followed him over to this restaurant. I went inside to get the manager of the restaurant and tried to get him to find this customer, which we couldn't track down. He was in a bar already, but I don't know. So the tow truck was able to get that car and tow it away. And we're at this real funny point. Are we liable? They gave us the keys, everything like that. But this is a responsibility where we called the police. The police ended up coming out. And yes, the tow truck had the right to take the car. He had all the proper paperwork. He had everything necessary. And we had to turn it over. Needless to say, the customer was not happy when he came out, but it was not our responsibility. He should have paid his bills.